Hello and welcome back. This is episode 25 of Solar Factory. I'm still getting my factory back up and running fully after 1.0 came out. So I thought I'd do a quick review of what I've got, because I've pretty much got it all done now. Then we had to dive back into, get back to the tier 9 stuff, which we started doing in the checkout that I did with Steve a couple of weeks back. So, we'll first look at the generator vector, the nuclear generator section. Biggest issue I had with here was some belts stopped functioning. As I think I mentioned a couple of times, it seems to happen after some of the updates. That caused most of the issues I had. The other two issues I had was that I think I mentioned I had a drone port bringing in, which actually was in that corner there. Drone bringing in sulfur for these two refineries. That node got removed, so now I've got way up there that pathway through to there, which is bringing in sulfur to these guys now. That's fixed that issue. I've also upped the production of some of these source factories, mainly for iron plates was the big one. I sort of essentially doubled the production of that, because I was finding that some of these first row blenders weren't functioning properly because they're running out of iron plate. So got that sorted out. And since I've got that sorted out, this has been running very nicely. It has been running now for 4 or 5 hours of actual gameplay without any issues. And as you see, they've got 4 fuel generators that are each doing 500 each, so they are fluctuating a bit in their production, but beyond those 4, the base production out of the nuclear generators is pretty much spot on. The other thing I had to change and fix, well, change it more than anything, was to go through and get past all this steamy stuff, is that the manufacturers making the uranium fuel rod, they weren't getting enough of the encased uranium cells. You can see now this is pretty much up to full capacity. Oh, the beams are a bit low. Fine. It's interesting. Something with this encased industrial beams. I thought it was functioning well. Maybe I was wrong. Anyway. So what I ended up doing was coming into here, we still do have 2 belt runs of uranium coming in. One of them comes from a node that's sort of way down. I'm not too sure where it is exactly in the map. Where's the train station? I'll put that on the map. It's somewhere down in here, I think. Yeah, anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, I also had another one that was coming in from another part of the map that was coming in via train and coming into a belt. I determined that coming via the train was causing a flow issue. So I ended up changing it from a train to a belt run to a complete belt run. I'll show you where that is and when I get to the other end of the factory. What has that meant though is that the flow of uranium is way more reliable to these first 2 rows. They each need 480 each row. There's 600 coming out of each belt. There's an overflow there, and there's another one there. That then flows into the 3rd one, which is then joined by the uranium coming in from here. And basically with all that balancing out, it's now evened out that that 3rd one is now getting enough uranium, whereas before it wasn't. Because it was purely getting it from here, it was just wasn't quite getting the flow that it needed. Alright, there's our beams have come into play. Good, so they're coming in. So they're now full. You always, when you've got a manifold set up like this, you've always got to go to the very last one. See how that's going. That's going to be your indicator. That's running a bit under at 67%. So I haven't quite got this set up quite right, but I'll have to look at increasing the production of encased industrial beams to offset that. But even though it's running probably overall a bit under 100%, that's more than enough for what's down below. And if we actually go to the very end one, sort of basically if I slow down, you'll see that they're all now saturated, the belt's going into them, which is good. Right, next stop we'll go over to our aluminium ingots setup. Alright, so here we are at our aluminium ingots and aluminium ingot production. It's pretty much on track. We've got an issue with water coming into these two right hands, or left as your factory. Their water is not quite coming in properly, so it's not running 100%, whereas this one is, and the setup's basically the same. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. I'll look at that at some point. Not a big impact ultimately on what I'm doing, because yeah, not really. I've got it over really, even that's running a bit under production, which I think if we go to these ones actually here, let's see, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100. These are the ones probably going to be under. Yeah. So they're producing at about 50%. So rather than producing 60 each, they're producing 30 each. So they're producing 120 combined. And this side's 240, which is, I think, way more than I actually need anyway. So it's not a big issue that it's not quite 100%. But the point is that most of the all the belts are functioning, and the actual production is okay. It actually is producing something. After 1.0, it wasn't producing anything. And at this end here, we've got our plastics production, and this is basically running at 100%. And down below is the two of those 4 generators I talked about, which are both running at not quite 100%. This is why they fluctuate on and off. So that's why we've got that power variation. When it drops, goes 2100, 21,000, then goes 122, and yeah, so just a little bit up and down because of those generators. They're not fully functioning, but as I said earlier, I don't really need them, so it's all good. Right, I'm going to wait for the next train out of this little station, and then we're going to head round to the plastics. And over at the plastics factory, everything's going pretty well here, I think. Everything's green where it should be, and overclocked white where it should be as well. There's 22 refineries making plastic here. As far as I can tell, they're all running 100% correctly. Therefore producing the 1,440 a minute collectively across all of them. All of them going to feed into these 3 train freight platforms. Any overflow goes into this one here, which has only got a couple of hundred in it, 430 odd or so. So I think we've probably got the balance right between production here and usage at the computers, which we'll go to in a moment. The other thing being made here is actually rubber. So rubber comes out of this as a part of this rubber recipe. That's mainly for the heavy oil residue, which is needed in the fuel production here, which then feeds back into the plastic production. So it's an alternative plastic recipe here that I'm using to do that. And for the most part, the rubber is just going straight into here, and I think that's going pretty well. I haven't seen many that are backed up on the rubber, because it basically just goes straight out of the machine, straight into the so it needs 30 a minute there, and the overflow, that's where it should do some here somewhere. There's 3 refineries outputting 30 of that. That needs 90 to make the 60, because this needs 30 each. Yeah, so that's where it should be. Yeah, it's okay. So, yeah, I think it's all functioning fine. There's not, most of the rubbish is just going straight into the, collected into these two. They are making 90 in each set of 3, so there is a bit of overflow. That's required to feed the 90 a minute this needs to feed the 2 at 3 to each. So hopefully there's a bit of, there should be oh, I see what I've done. I feed one straight into, okay. So one just goes straight into that belt run and the other ones go straight through. Okay, that's what I've done. Yeah, okay. I have forgotten how I'd set it up. Yeah, so they're the 30 a minute times the 12, I think, in total setup I've got. Means that's feeding 30 a minute straight into the train freight platform. Let's check where our train is. Let's go back. Cool. Yeah, so I think it's all good. I think we're good here. I do plan to put roofs on some of these big production buildings. I just haven't got round to sort of doing it basically. But I do have plans to put roof on this one, potentially a roof on the nuclear generator structure, the aluminium ingots one. I might have to I've had a bit of a think, I might actually have to change that set up and actually package the water out of the 2 refineries, because it's just not working properly on one side. So that's another option I've got, is to package the water and just sink it, because the 2 refineries making the aluminium scrap have other water output as well, which I was trying to feed back into the other 2 refineries, but it's just not quite working properly. So I might end up just sinking the water out of those 2 refineries, but I'll think about that at some point. But as I get earlier, it's not a big issue at the moment. So we'll jump on a train in a sec, and we'll go over to the desert area and look at the the computers, which use the plastics from where we are now, electromagnetic control rods, heavy modular frames, and then we'll make sure that's all functioning. Okay, so with the change they made in 1.0 to the computers recipe to remove screws from it, that meant I had to rejig this a fair bit. And what it also then meant was I was able to go to a 4th manufacturer and increase the overall production to 6.25 per machine. So I think I'm now basically getting 25 a minute, whereas before I was getting 15, I think, or something like that, or 18 or something like that. I've also adjusted how I deal with the plastic, in that I'm now overflowing it. If it overflows into the last belt run here, or split here, it overflows into here and gets stored first. After that storage is full, it's now being sunk, which may mean that the plastic is now going a lot better, I think. So you can see there we've got 400, we've got 100 each machine requirement there, and then we've also got 51 required per each one of these, and I believe there is 8 of them. That gives 408 there, so that's 808. I don't believe there's anything more needed for plastic. I think that's it for plastic. Let me just check that. Go down to the next level. I'm pretty sure plastic just goes straight past. So that's that there. That's the bit making cable. is going into here. So yeah, making 1440 a minute at that in that factory, and only needing 808 here. So a lot of it is being sunk, but what that ultimately means is that the production is flowing and it doesn't just gum up. So that's an advantage of doing that. I think I might actually I need 100 circuit boards a minute, because I'm making 12 point, no, that's correct, 12.75 is basically 100 a minute. Okay. I might have to think about syncing those, overflowing that as well, putting a smart split on that bend there and having overflow go into the same sink. But we'll look at that later, not issue. So that's all going pretty decently. If we come across here, we've got our empty canister production, which is mainly used over in the battery area. So that's going pretty well, I think. We're getting 180 a minute coming out of there, 180 there, so 360 total, which is cool. Let's quickly go check the electromagnetic control rods. Now these are going to two different places. The main one's going to the nuclear generator waste area. Let's just go right to the top and see how the top ones are going. Because that's where the final production is done, is in there. So we'll look at each of these. 100%. So they're making 9 each, and I think there's 10 of them? No, 12 of them. So 108 is the target there, and they all seem to be going pretty nicely. All seem to be going 100%. We are doing some storage in here. Got 19,500 stored. That's only if this overflows, which I think it very rarely would do. So let's put that in place. That's looking good. Very rarely would it be sinking them. Right, let's go look at the heavy modular frames, which is over to the left. This also is the one that they changed the recipe. They adjusted the ratios a bit between the various components that make it. So it was a bit of an effort to get it up and running again. But I think when I last checked this, you can see it's green across the board, which is except that last one, not quite. This last one's not getting enough something. Probably encased industrial beams would be my guess. But each one of the 6 of them should be doing 12 total. We're probably getting encased industrial beams aren't quite right. That's interesting. So we need 10, need 60 minutes. I'll check what's happening with that, because I thought this was okay. It's not maybe at something's level. Encased industrial beams are made at the front here. Making 15 each. Looks like the concrete might be the issue. Okay, so if that's, so that one's running 100. Okay, so it's the concrete from this side that's the issue. So how do we got that correct? Each one is running at 100%, is running at 240%, producing 36 each. Okay. It's producing 180, which is what it needs. Okay. Yep. So it's this one. You're running 100. Oh, actually you're running over, that's what the problem is. Well, that should be an issue I would not have thought. Let's just go copy those settings and just paste them over the top of these. Limestone. Weird thing, when you paste in those settings, any materials in the input get dumped out for some weird reason. I'm not sure why it does that, but that's what it does. Alright, so it's still got the 180. Let's see if that. Got enough. We appear to have enough limestone coming in. So, alright, we'll let that run for a bit. See if that fixes that one. Let's just give this a bit of a. We'll give that a boost. We'll feed it a bit, and that'll hopefully just keep up with it from now on. We can watch this for a little bit and just check. To 500 around the 60% mark, even a bit less. So, alright, that one might now be back up and running. Right, so that one looks like, I think that one's all good. I'll just let it run for a bit. I'll come to check it at some point. So, that's the end of the. Oh, we've got over here is all of the stuff required. So we've got encased industrial beams, steel beams, and iron plate going to one of these three ports here. Again, that's all used over in the waste management for nuclear stuff. I'm very surprised that this is not working properly. I've got two of those, one on that end and one over on that end. They're doing 50 each, they're doing 100. Now I've got concrete issues again. Okay. So that's my issue, is that encased industrial beams aren't quite running properly. Okay, you've got enough concrete. They adjusted the rate, didn't they? So 72 a minute. I've got it not quite. So does that need to be finally? So I need to get that to 240% again. 36, it should be that. Now, with that taking more limestone, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have we got? Yeah, so 8 by 108, that's 864. That's way too much for one belt. Have I got this coming in from one source? How have I got this working? So that's not going to be enough. That's going to be under. That will eventually start to not have enough limestone. So it needs way more. So I'm going to have to probably find another source of limestone to help with this. So just get two of them. Get the first 4 sorted out. We just have to see how much other. I know there's an absolute bucketload over here, so. So there's a. Where we're there. Got some limestone just there to ensure we wouldn't need much. In fact, if we had a Mark III, I think the Mark III on an impure tops out at 180. I think that's correct. Or was it 150? 150. Anyway, alright, so we'll have to come back and fix that. That's probably why we saw an issue with those beams for a moment at the generator area. So, right, next we'll head over to, we'll take a bit of a walk that way, jump onto that train there and head over to the battery area, to the swamp area, sorry, to look at the battery production and the alclad sheeting and heatsink production. Alright, looking at our battery production, these 6 blenders are running at 100%, so they're going well. So it looks like we're producing our 240 batteries a minute that this setup is producing, is meant to produce, so that's looking good. We'll just quickly go down to the lower levels and just check on them. It's the fact that we're getting 100% up there should mean these are all looking good. We'll just go in here and check this out. Looking for anything going yellow in those. So any of the little, so on each of the machines there you've got this thing. Now if it's white it means it's overclocked. If it's red it's not running. And if it's yellow, it means it's not running efficiently. It's got some issue that it should be running but it's not running. So it could be that its outputs is full and it can't make any more, or it can't make anything that has got enough input material. So that's what you're looking for. But nothing there is going yellow at all, so that's really good. Head down to the bottom level and do the same thing. Then we'll head over to the other production tower, another building, and we'll check out the alclad sheeting and heatsink production. Let's go through here. Again, looking for things that are yellow, and I think we're looking pretty good across the board in there. Okay, that looks quite good. And it's got a lot in the output. It's not getting to 500, which would be the stack size, which actually would stop it from producing anything more. No, that's looking good. Excellent. Took a while to get that one back up and running. Bits and pieces of it. Alright. Now this one has been a bit tricky, and I'm not sure this one's going to be 100% either, but we shall see. So you've got the left hand side is making the aluminium solution times 4, so 180 each machine, so 720 total. That's fed into each set of 2 feeds into one machine, but it needs 360 of that aluminium solution. It makes the aluminium scrap, which looks like it's going well, not stacking up at all. And water is maintaining itself because water is a byproduct. Combined into that single pipe goes up to the very top of this whole structure. And from here we actually go, just need to come up here. And from here we actually go to here. Jumped again. Yep. So the water's still going up further, and each of these is requiring the aluminium ingots and some of that silica and extra silica to make the aluminium ingots, and that looks like it's all, they're running 100, but they're running 150% overclocked each one, so we're producing 90, 180 and a 360 there, seemingly okay, and likewise here. I think we're good. I think we're okay. So if we've got 6 by 90, that's 720 I think. No, sorry. That's 540, my bad. So 540 a minute, walk up this ramp. And in here's where we've actually got more production. So in here we've got heat sinks being made here. We've got 15 a minute being made on each machine, so 45 total across the 3 of them. And look like they're running 100%, which is really good. That's 45 minute going over to the nuclear generator factory area for the waste management stuff. And I'm not seeing anything here that gives me any pause for concern, which is really good. Excellent, I'm happy with all that. That's looking really good. Bit of rejig required for that as well to get it to flow properly, but that's good. And this one goes to the main factory and is used in the heatsink production there, which is used in the production of the fuse cooling system, I think that's where that goes. So water, let's just check this, that's looking good. Yeah, that's looking good. Yeah, that's looking good, excellent. And that's taking the heat sinks off to the nuclear generator, which is a 45 minute, which is exactly what I'm after. Perfect. Right, that's this area done. I'm going to do over to my, going to basically wander in essentially towards the tower, but I'm going to take a detour and head off to the area that does the steel beams, steel pipes and gas filter production. Okay, so we're over in this, I'm not sure what part of the maps this is called, I must look it up at some point. This is where I was making, I've got a whole bunch of steel beams and steel pipes being made here. They are getting droned off to the main factory. So you can see their main factory, South Terminal Gate 1. For the steel pipes, and the steel beams go to main factory West Terminal Gate 4. I'm not too sure why it can't unload. I'll have to check that. That's interesting. The middle drone port here is bringing in the batteries required for those other 2. This is not, I've not changed this at all, but I do plan to make some tweaks to primarily the input of these 5 belts to make that a bit neater. I've added this walkway across here to get from that factory over to here. This is the one that's taken a fair bit of redesign, because this was making gas filters and they changed the gas filter recipes a fair bit, and as a result of that I rejigged this entire thing. So it was on 2 levels that were odd, because when I first built this factory hours and hours ago now in this game, in this save, this bottom level was actually coal generators to power just this structure, and the one over there, but eventually got rid of that because I had the nuclear power. I got the whole grid connected to this bit. So this floor was basically empty for hours, many months and hours of this game. So now we've got rejigged a fair bit. The building is quite a bit of a different design to it too. I haven't fitted out with lights properly yet, but I'm getting there. This internal staircase is new as well. On the very top level is just a drone port. Well, it's actually 2 things. It's a storage for fabric, which is one of the materials needed for gas filters. So there's excess being made, so we're storing a bunch in there. There's way more than we're ever going to need. There's thousands and thousands in there. And then the gas filters are in this right hand drone port, shipped off the main factory to go into the ionized filters, the masks, these things. Where are they? Are these things? Iodine infused filter. So that's what they're used in. This one just bringing batteries in to make this one so it can fly. But the factory, the recipe was changed was needing rubber in the past. They got rid of that. That replaced it with iron plate. So the recipe is quite different. So we've got our fabric production in these two, those two, fed by these two refineries, which are making this polymer resin, which goes straight into this machine to make the fabric. Goes into the manufacturer. Overflow goes up to that storage I showed you earlier. The heavy oil residue comes out of those two machines and into this refinery, which turns it into fuel, which goes into these two generators, and these are probably fluctuating, I suspect, 100%. Yeah, it's just enough each time, so they're probably pretty solid actually. And then over here we've got just some raw, just straight up coal coming in, and then we've got here iron plate, which was another change this recipe. So it was a lot bit different, a lot different to what it was. But I think the factories now, the building itself is I think a lot cleaner. So, as a result of that, I've put some glass frontage on it so you can see what's happening inside of it, and if you scroll up you can see the drain port is in there as well, and the roof looks like that. So it's a bit uneven. I mean, ultimately probably what it would do, make it a bit more symmetrical, would be to get rid of those. Yeah, that looks better. Yep, alright, cool. Eventually I'll put a roof on this thing, but yeah, not particularly worried about that. Right, that's the bit. Now we'll head over to the main factory area and have a quick chat about what's going on there and how we're going to build into the tier 9 stuff. And back at the main factory, or the main sort of factory area. So, all of these production buildings are now up and running. They were all effectively broken after 1.0 because belts weren't quite lining up properly, and sometimes they also the materials need to be droned in and they weren't functioning, so everything basically stopped. But for the most part, I think they're all now up and running. The one thing I need to look at is, you can see that double length or double width building over there. That's doing magnetic field generators, I think it's the term. Let me just check the field generators. Yeah, they changed that recipe quite a bit as well, to not require batteries. So I had batteries being droned into here, and that was obviously not needed anymore, so I had to retrig that a bit. It's now an assembler, whereas before it was a manufacturer, so that changed a lot. So that building, even though it's double width as it is there, is not needed to be double width anymore. So that's something I'll have to change at some point, but not a big thing. But what I really want to get into in the next video is, the next episode will be the tier 9 production. And I've started to build the foundations for this, so you can kind of see, if we just scroll up, I'm going to fly up here a minute, you can just see just there. So down where that miner is, that constructor is a SAM node, and that's the new material that's actually got a purpose in 1.0. It's been around in the map for quite a while, but hasn't had a purpose until now. That's the base material for all of this quantum technology stuff that they put into tier 9. So it is reanimated SAM. So it's SAM ore comes in here, or just SAM. It was called SAM ore at one point. Gets put into this reanimated SAM and then pumped out into a manufacturer which makes SAM fluctuator, which I've now got quite a bit of it in here, a little bit in here. It does need copper, it does need wire, and is it plate, I think, steel pipe. So it does need that to produce it. So what I think we'll end up doing is, as we've got a node, that's the only one that's in this area, who's just underneath there. So we'll make start doing our next production tower to make this SAM, reanimated SAM stuff, and the SAM fluctuator, because you can see the milestone quantum encoding. The first item there is diamonds. and that's just made from coal into a particle accelerator. That's easy. Over basically through there is a pure coal node. No issues with getting coal here. So we'll make another production tower that is just for coal, for diamonds. We may make it in that structure and belt it across the big area here. I'm not too sure just yet, but that's easy enough to make that. And then once you've got diamonds, it's used in production of the fixite trigon, which is the fixite ingot. I'm still learning all these things, it's all new. You've got two different ways you can make it. You've got the reanimated SAM, which I've got a bucket load of it now sitting in there, sorry. Reanimated SAM is in there. Get down to there. Reanimated SAM, got absolute heaps of it, so no issues with that. So that's needed to make the fixite ingot along with some iron ingot. Now there just happens to be just over here, just down there, 2 iron ore nodes, plus there's another 2 or 3 over here as well, so we've got heaps nearby. So we should be able to make that ingot, fixite ingot, and once we've got the fixite ingot we can then use that to make the fixite trigon inside a constructor, and that's this material here. So that goal is to get those materials up and running quickly, and we'll do the same thing we've been doing before. We'll make them in a production tower, we'll store excess, but end up having the idea being that it will get belted to a central storage hub, which was going to be where I'm hovering. So we're going to change. I'm going to have to change that. My gut feels to put it in the middle, which kind of may now makes sense. We'll have an east production area. We've got a north, south, west. We'll make it an east one, and make things in this area now. I'm not sure it's going to be many as what's over there, but we'll see. And then from there, I think we'll put the central hub in the middle, and it might just be that it sits above this cross pattern we've created here. And then on top of that, we'll probably put the elevator will be in the middle of all that. So we'll make some structure in the middle there for that, but that is what I'm thinking at the moment. So, but that's for next episode. Which will hopefully be relatively soon. I'm trying to get back into decent release cadence of these videos now that 1.0 is out, but we shall see how that goes. Real life gets in the way quite often, but we'll see. Until then, this has just been a quick rundown of where all the current factory's at. Next episode 26, we're right into the tier 9 stuff, and we'll get some quantum stuff made. Till then, thanks for watching, and goodbye.